Hello everybody and welcome back to another video where I've just had a collection of parts delivered from Lego Pab. I now have a whole bunch of pieces for doing my ballasting on those plates that I started last time. Hopefully this should be enough to finish them. I've also got more of these plants to go along the top of my canal. But the most interesting is that I have parts in here for my Annie and Clarabel carriages, which I've already started. So here is my Clarabel carriage, and straight away we're going to start talking about how I've been an idiot. So overall I'm mostly pleased with the carriage itself. You can see I've got a bit of face detail. I need to make some eye stickers for Clarabel and also a name on the side, but I've used the sideways snot windows technique, but they're getting pushed in a little bit, so I need something behind there to prevent that from happening. I imagine just a long black plate running across would be more than enough to do that. And you know, it looks pretty reasonable for a little four-wheel coach. The wheels I think look maybe like a little bit squat perhaps. I think maybe you need a little bit more height, and that becomes even more obvious when I put my Thomas behind and you realise it's very short compared to Thomas. And I think the problem is I based this off of my Great Western Railway carriages, and I forgot the fact that there's not a bogie underneath, so it would inherently be shorter. So I think what I need to do is add a bit more, maybe like two plates lower down here and maybe a plate up above, and that might get me the height that I need. Also maybe taking the wheel sets, changing it out so that this is a little bit taller as well might also help. So I've got a little bit to change and faff with that in the future, but for now I'm just going to get both Annie and Clarabel made up and ready to go so that they are able to be put out on the railway when we do our show at the MBE show in Exeter at the Matford Centre next weekend. So I'm going to get on with building Annie next, and we'll see what Thomas looks like with both of those behind him. So I've just got to this stage and realised I don't have enough of these corner pieces, and actually looking at the designs that I made, which I've kind of half been following, I didn't use corner pieces all the way along on this opposite side, so I've made the other carriage wrong, which means I now have to pull that carriage apart so that I can make this one properly and then make that one properly as well. Oh god, I should have made instructions out of this rather than just hiding and unhiding pieces. Well, I've got back to the point where the windows are now in place, and you can see how not very secure these are. So I want to add, maybe just on these plates here, if I was to add something on there, two black plates perhaps, just to stop these from pushing inwards. I mean, especially it'll work for, that was like there, especially it'll work for these ones. And then that will stop them from crushing inwards. I might need to build up a little bit of brick on this side to help do that as well, but I think that's really worthwhile doing now, seeing as I've had to pull it apart because I'm an idiot. So I'm going to do that next, but I'm going to have to search for some bits for it. Okay, now I've added that bracing, and these are no longer pushing in, so that's going to stop them looking weird when it's all back together again. So that's Clarabel almost back together. I just pop the lid back on. All will be good. there we have it. There's Clarabel all sorted out, and Annie as well, added on, being pulled by Thomas. I'm pretty pleased with how they've turned out. I definitely need to sort out the height of them a little bit. I think just maybe 2 plates to a brick's worth of extra height being added and they'll be solid. But I mean, put together now, I mean, they don't look too bad. I'm actually quite pleased with that. So these will be going around the National Brick Event in Exeter at the Matford Centre next weekend. So it'll be great to see how Thomas gets on pulling those. I might even go and try and sneak out into the garden with him, but it has been absolutely torrential rain today, but there is a bit of blue sky now, so I'll see what I can manage. I guess onwards with other adjustments and other bits that I need to make. I'm going to start on this ballasting, I think, and get some of these plates done. I'm not going to put you through another speed build time-lapse of ballasting being done, because my god, it's dull. So I'll catch up with you again once I have finished putting those plates in place, and then we'll move on to whatever's next. So Thomas is now going around, but there's certain parts of this track where it's a little uneven and his non-banded wheels, oh look, they're just struggling so much. Also, he is really not particularly happy with the R40 points. I've never really ran this model through any R40 points before, but yeah, he's not happy about them with that wheel set. So it might be that Thomas isn't going to do much out in the garden in the future. Look at that, he's definitely going to need some bands on his wheels. Struggles through those points a little bit though. Once he gets going though, he's doing pretty well. I mean, on the Plymouth Brick Railway setup, he's going to be fine because we're using minimum radius of 104 for our point work, so that's not going to be an issue for him. Oh my goodness, but this is a struggle. Definitely need to add some bands to these wheels. But he certainly looks pretty good with the coaches behind him as well. It completes his look. I know I'm going to massively derail here. Look at that. Completely just... And traction. Anytime. There we go. Yep. Looks great with the carriages, but definitely got some running issues on this radius. I mean, I only designed this for my regular Lego Loco models, so it's to be expected to a certain degree. So I think we'll leave him there. Well, Thomas didn't run very well outside on that track, and my ballasting is now done as much as I can. So I still need to get some brown tiles to finish off here, and a lot of the track also doesn't have the sleepers on either, so I'm going to have to get some more of those at some point, but all of the grey tiles are on, and that's the main thing. It's going to make it look pretty good. One thing that I have decided to change is when I have the layout in place, I've currently got the double crossover, which is currently hiding behind here. I have that double crossover in front of the yard, but not connected to any of it. So to help kind of distribute the detail, if you like, in the track, I'm going to move that crossover to be in front of my buildings, and I'll use some of these newly ballasted plates to go in front of the tunnel instead, and I think that will just make things, one, a little bit easier for me to manage line 1 and line 2 on running times, and also it will make it easier, it'll make it better looking from just the front for when we're at the shows as well. So right, next up, to carry on with updates that I'm making, which will be in time for the Exeter National Brick Event, is I'm going to move on back to my slope here. I've got a few bits for it. Right, I've just turned the light on so that we can see a bit better. So what are we doing here? So first up is the tunnel entrances have got these big squares on, and you may remember when I was originally designing and building these entrances, I did say about using these little shield pieces. So this is going to replace that piece there to put that detail on. So I'm going to change out that. I've got all the pieces I need for that. And the other thing that I'm going to be changing is I've now got more of these leaf pieces. So I'm just going to hopefully fill out this last section here. I think I've got enough to do that. And that should then be all finished and ready to go for the show. Okay, so there we go. I've got my shrubberies in here, so all those leaf parts are across. I think that looks quite nice. Adds a bit of detail to the scene, and also I'll drop the phone right into here. You can see I've got those shield pieces on now, which I think just look a lot nicer. Yeah, a lot nicer than the plain tiles that were there before. I also had a few leaf elements left over, so for the time being I've just dropped them down in there to make this area a little bit more overgrown again. Tempted to buy some more of them for the future and yeah, perhaps scatter them between the rails and stuff as well. So yeah, keep an eye out for those. That is it, I think, ready for the Exeter National Brick Event. So the next bit of video I think will be taking some shots from the NBE and definitely getting some more footage of Thomas with Annie and Clarabel going around that. So here's a few quick clips from the NBE, and first of all you can see straight away is my double crossover now in front of my short town section. And here's those new ballasted plates filling the gap that was left by the double crossover right in front of the tunnel section. And then passing by, you can see the A4 Pacific Bittern built by James Strancalis, quickly followed by the pannier tank with 2 auto coaches by Ben Rogers, aka Brick End Railway. And as the pannier tank pauses at the station, Martin Hunt's Orient Express runs by. This was the first time that Ben displayed with us, and I've got to say his builds are so incredibly detailed, and I loved how my 2251 looked going through his station, Brick End, pulling all of its wagons. Thomas also had a really good run at the show that day, but unfortunately I didn't get very much footage of him, so here's a little cropped in clip that I did have. Oh, and Ben also decided to run a prairie tank with 8 Great Western coaches behind it, and I just loved this clip so much I have to put it in. Martin has also been working on a new funicular railway based on the one at Babbacombe, and while it didn't work at the show because it had some timing issues, he has been working on that to get this one up and running for the next time that we're going to be doing some displays. And lastly, here's a short clip of the Duchess class that Jonathan's working on. I printed the wheels for him for this one, but unfortunately he's having some problems with it binding around the corners, which I guess is the problem with having a Pacific class. And that's it for this video, and indeed that was our last show for this year, so I'm now working on my 2026 plans, and I hope that you'll join me to see how they unfold. Bye for now.